A warm welcome to Diski Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things MTN 8 semi-final first leg between Orlando Pirates versus Mamelodi Sundowns. So we do know then that coming up then into this encounter, the red team will represent Orlando Pirates and then the blue team will represent Mamelodi Sundowns. So with regards to the DStv Premiership standings then, it is number 1 versus number 2. However, on today's episode, we put aside the DStv Premiership and we focus on all things MTN 8. So let's have a look at it then. So coming up then into this episode. So Orlando Pirates then do know that within the quarterfinals, they did play against Royal AM, where they were able to see them off and advance to the semi-finals. With Mamelodi Sundowns then, they did see off SuperSport United. So they do play against each other. So when you have a look at Orlando Pirates then, with regards to how they've been doing under Jose Riviero's tutelage, they've actually been doing very well. They've been tactically and defensively disciplined, very organized team then, that is also very good without the ball. And whenever then they do look to go forward, they do create a lot of chances. The only disadvantage then is that they've been struggling to convert those chances. But let's have a look at the personnel. So in goal then, you do have Richard Ofori, who is currently the vice captain for this Orlando Pirates side, and a goalkeeper then who I would say has been in good form and has been doing well. And then as the left-sided centre-back, you've got Innocent Maela. So when you do have a look at Maela, this is the captain, and quite key then with regards to what he offers this Orlando Pirates side with regards to build-up phase, because they are a side that look to build up from very deep. So Maela becomes quite key then with regards to making sure he can progress that ball within the left, deep within the left wide channel, also then within that left-sided half space. Another thing then that Maela does offer this Orlando Pirates side is that whenever Orlando Pirates then are in the opposition half, sometimes you will see him popping up into that pocket of space where then he's looking then to add numbers with regards to Orlando Pirates wide overload. So what you would see from Orlando Pirates is that they would have these wide overloads on the left hand side where you do have the wing back, which would be Hoto, you'd have the number 10, then it would be the 3 of them, and then they'd also have these left-sided rotations as well. From this position then, since Maela is naturally a left back, he can also deliver quality balls into the box. Moving on then right along, the next player you have CBC. So with CBC then, he's been quite key with regards to this defense, as I would say that he has been the main player by virtue of him having played the most for this Orlando Pirates side and also his role within this team. So within build-up phase then, what CBC does do is often come within that pocket of space. You have Maela and then you'll have the right-sided centre-back looking to go there. With CBC then, quite key then, whenever they are in possession of the ball, because he is quite comfortable on the ball, quite good at times with regards to looking to progress that ball for this Orlando Pirates side, and a player then who also does have very good of range of passing with regards to sometimes looking to play those diagonal balls, sometimes looking to play that dodge pass. A player then who's also a threat within the opposition box with regards to set pieces, as he has already scored this season from a corner. And then within his own box, defends his box very, very well. However, the only disadvantage I'd say with this Orlando Pirates defense then is that they've struggled to defend set pieces. However, they have been, for most parts, they have been very solid with regards to their defensive actions and their tactical organization. It's just the set pieces they struggle with. As a right-sided centre-back, you could have Nda, or you could have Tapelo Koki. So that's also been another key component of Riviero's approach, as he's not too reliant on individuals, but he's built a game model and a system then which can function even then when different personalities are brought in. And then when you move on then, right along and have a look at their wing backs. So when you do have a look at their wing backs, as the left wing back, you do have Hoto. So Hoto becomes quite key then with regards to offering the width within that left wide channel. He is a very quick player, very creative, and he can score goals as well. So he does look to play a lot of those crosses. And then on the right hand side, you would have Bandile Shandu offering the width on the right hand side as well. Very similar then to what Hoto would do with regards to the responsibility within the wide channel. From a defensive perspective, it does become quite key then that within these two pockets of space that they are able then to have sufficient communication with their wide centre backs, because then when you do play a back three, that is the pocket of space that they would look to target. But going forward, that is what then those two wing backs offer you. I will touch on it then when we look at their defensive scheme and when we look at them without the ball, what Orlando Pirates would look like. But you'd have Shandu there, you'd have Hoto there. Moving on then right along within the heart of midfield as a double pivot. So you do have Tim, and then you do have Musele, who will most likely make a return. So Orlando Pirates have been playing a 3-4-3, at times a 3-4-2-1, at times a 3-4-1-2, at times it does look somewhat of a 3-5-2. So it is essentially a 3-4-3, which has multiple variations, which we have seen Orlando Pirates adopt. So you do have Miguel Tim, and then you would have Musele there, but we do know that there's Munare there as well, there's Mutware there as well, and Orlando Pirates on deadline day did sign Ndlondlo. So they also have Ndlondlo, who can always slot in within the heart of midfield alongside Tim, as they were partners for this Marumo Gallants in recent times. They do find themselves being partners for this Orlando Pirates side as well. So that could also be another double pivot, as they've got a great understanding. But I do think that Musele will come within that double pivot, which is a bit more defensive minded, especially considering the type of opponents that they will be coming up against. And then when you do have a look at the two number 10s, so many options. So as the two number 10s, you could have Dlamini there. You could have Dlamini there. You could have Makaringe. We do know that there's Bule, if he is fully fit. We do know that there's Lorch as well, if he is fully fit as well. So there's so many options that they do have in those 10 roles. So it could be either one, especially considering that they've had a lengthy break where it's given them sufficient time to see some of those players then who were injured make returns, and would have had sufficient time then on the training ground with regards to finding that fitness and being able to contribute. Another aspect then is that those players that don't start can always come off the bench and make an impact. So when you do have a look at Orlando Pirates then from a midfield perspective, what becomes quite key then at times is them being able to create this box midfield, which then makes it 4 midfielders, which will be very interesting considering that Mamelodi Sundowns do play with the diamond. So it does become a 4 versus 4 in there, where they would be looking then to match them from a numerical perspective. So that is what you would see. Another thing then, which is key to note then, with the two number 10s, is that there's this pattern of play and combination play which is developing very well for this Orlando Pirates side, which normally is instituted between the number 10 and the wing back as well. So what you would see then is it's sometimes a 1-2, sometimes a give and go, but basically then it is a half space pass and half space penetration, which then is met by the wing back sort of in that area, where then they are able then to play it back. So what you would see then, basically that ball being put there and then being played back. At times, like I did mention, it does somewhat become a 1-2. So that ball could be played into there. He makes the run there. It's played. He plays it back. And then it's for the oncoming players then to look to finish. This is also instituted on the right-hand side as well. And then when you do move on then right along and have a look at it up front. So up front, they also do have so many options up front, as they do have Lipasa, who I think then has had a couple of good performances. You also then do have Nga. You also then do have Pepra, who can play there. There is Mahopa as well, who is making his way back to fitness. So there's so many options that they could go with. But I do see them going with Lipasa up front. When you do have a look at Lipasa then, his movement is very good. He's a very quick player. And he also then offers them that option to press. But I don't foresee this Orlando Pirates side looking to press this Mamelodi Sundowns side. I do see them being quite conservative, especially considering then that it is a two-legged affair. So I do see Pirates being a bit more conservative and a bit more closed off. So that is Orlando Pirates then with regards to the offensive scheme, which then does become a 3-2-5. At times, like I did mention, you do have Mayela who can also look to add numbers there. So sometimes it can even become somewhat of a 2-2-6 when you do have Mayela going there. At times, what you can see is a 3-1-6 when they're really looking then to go forward and add numbers. So ball would be there, for example. They're looking to get all those numbers into the box, looking then they can ensure that they can finish off those crosses. So with this Orlando Pirates side, it is wide and half space penetration with regards to how they look to create their chances, with regards to identical patterns of play within the final third, looking to cut the ball back in, at times looking to cross the ball, at times it is the number 10 who'd look to penetrate themselves through the half space, and very good then with regards to those interchanging passes. However, let's have a look at Orlando Pirates without the ball and what their defensive schemes would look like. So without the ball then, it is key to note that this Orlando Pirates side does go to a 5-4-1. So what a 5-4-1 then requires then is spatial management from a lateral and a vertical perspective. So it becomes quite key then when you look to manage the space vertically and laterally as well, because then you're trying to ensure that you're very compact and that the opposition can't play through you where they can break you down. So becomes quite key then. It would become a back five like that. You'd have the 4 there, and then you'd have the striker there. At times it can look somewhat of a 5-2-3, but mostly it would be a 5-4-1 when the ball does go wide, and Mamelodi Sundowns would have those wide overloads and wide triangulation. One of the number 10s would be key then in facilitating defensive action and being able to ensure that they can assist the wing back on the right hand side as well, on the left hand side there as well. And if the ball's on that side, they'd obviously then just be looking to shift across, making sure that they are compact as possible. So that is Orlando Pirates then. Also very key to note that they could hurt this Mamelodi Sundowns side then from this situation where they are sat very deep within their low and mid blocks, where they could look to win it back and look then to hit this Mamelodi Sundowns side on the counter attack. Very key that Orlando Pirates actually have players who are very good then with offensive transitions, where they're very quick, play that one decisive progressive pass, and then they're in behind, and they've got the speed to match that, because like I did mention, they've got Hoto, for example. You've got Pule if he does play. You've got Loch. You've got Shandu off the right-hand side. You've got Lipas up front. So they've got a lot of speed in transition. So that is Orlando Pirates then with regards to what they would be looking to do and how then they would be looking to approach this game. Like I did mention, weaknesses of Orlando Pirates, they do struggle to finish off chances that they create within the final third, and they struggle to defend set pieces as well. However, let's move on right along then and let's have a look at Mamelodi Sundowns. So we do know that Mamelodi Sundowns are last year's MTN 8 winners, so they will be looking then to defend their title. So when you have a look at Mamelodi Sundowns then, I would say that this has been a season where they've had mostly good performances and they've got the result, but to a certain degree, there have been performances that they would not be too proud of and too happy of, because sometimes it hasn't really looked all too good for them with regards to that rhythm and that tempo where they are in total control and domination, but they've been able then to get over the line. So when you do have a look at this Mamelodi Sundowns side then, in goals, you most likely have Ron Williams. At right back, you do have Mudau. So when you have a look at Mudau, then he becomes quite key then in offering the width within the right wide channel for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, especially then when you play with a diamond, because then it's normally then the fullbacks who look to offer that width. So you do have Mudau, who will be very keen offering the width. Do know that from a defensive perspective, he's very, very strong. And I think that he's been one of the best defenders, if not the best defender for this Mamelodi Sundowns side and within the PSL as well. So you do have Khuliso Mudau there. And then as the right side at centre-back, we will most likely have Grant Kekana. You have Rushin Duruk, as they've formed a very, very good pairing. Very solid as well. They read the game very well. And quite key then in ensuring that they are able to build up from deep for this Mamelodi Sundowns side. And then as the left back, so we do know that they have signed Terence Mashego from Cape Town City on a long-term deal. Lila K has gone on loan to Cape Town City. So the options that they do have in this department, you do have Lila K, you do have Ngobeni, and then, you do have Ngobeni, you do have Modiba, and then you've got Mashego. So Lila K is out on loan for Cape Town City, so he's not in contention for Mamelodi Sundowns anymore this season. So I do foresee them starting then with Modiba on the left-hand side. As I did mention that they will be quite key then with regards to offering the width. And I will go into the importance of these two in this game specifically, especially when Orlando Pirates do look to sit deep. Then when you move on then right along, at the base of the diamond, you will most likely have Andile Chali. On the right side of the diamond, you will have Mbule. On the left side, you will have Tebogo Mokoena. So when you do have a look at it then, Jali becomes quite key then with regards to how Mamelodi Sundowns look to build up, because we do know that he does look to take the ball off Ronwen Williams in build-up. Then the centre backs would be there. Jali's quite key then because he's quite good then within these deep pockets of space and these deep positions where he's able to progress the ball and bypass the first line of press. And then within the heart of midfield, very solid then, reads the game well, very experienced, and how then he does look to control from deep, and he does then look to find his more creative players within his two number 8s in Mbule and in Mokoena as well, as they will be looking then to control things within the heart of midfield. Moving on then right along, at the top of the diamond, you do then have Themba Zwane. So we do know that Themba Zwane is their talisman. He is the player who pulls strings for this Mamelodi Sundowns side. Quite key then because he does have a free role. So he does drift into the right-sided half space. He does pop up into zone 14, left-sided half space. At times, he does drift wide. He does offer this Mamelodi Sundowns side that qualitative and positional superiority with regards to how he looks to take the ball in between the lines. Very deadly in front of goal as well. In the box, cool, calm, and composed. He finishes off well, and he possesses that extra pass. And then the two, you'd have Shalile, and then there's so many options here, you know, who could play up front with Shalile. The last time out, they did start with Saavedra. You do have Kutumela there. You do have Serino as well, if he is fully fit. So there are so many options that they could go with. There is Nasir as well, if he's fit. You know, there is Alande as well, who could always start. Sometimes this shape can also be a 4-3-3, where you'd have Zwane there, and then you'd have Alende there, for example, and then you'd have Shalile there. So it would be a 4-3-3. But right now, we're looking at it from an offensive scheme perspective. So the offensive scheme does become a 2-3-5. So, like I did mention then, it does become quite key with regards to where these two, the types of space that they will occupy, how high and how wide, especially considering that Orlando Pirates then, when they do defend deep, they do find themselves going to a back five. But when you do look at this Mamelodi Sundowns side, up front then you do have Shalile. The two key players, you've got Zwane, you've got Shalile, with regards to how then they look to be key in how Mamelodi Sundowns look then to get their goals. Shalile has been in very good form. He has been scoring the goals for this Mamelodi Sundowns side, so he is quite key. But we do know that they've got so many other players that can always come off the bench and make an impact. So let's then have a look at a picture that we will see for, I think, for large parts of the game, because I do think that Sundowns will dominate proceedings from a ball possession perspective. So what we will see then is Orlando Pirates going to that shape and Mamelodi Sundowns having to break them down. So that's what I think Jose Riviero will do. So I did mention then that the two fullbacks become quite key in this aspect. So I do think that they'll be looking to stretch them and go high and wide. It's possible. Now, what you're looking at here is a picture then of a 5 versus 5 with regards to Orlando Pirates' defensive line, and then with regards to Mamelodi Sundowns' offensive line, so their front 5. So you are looking then at it being numerically equal. So what you will see Sundowns do a lot of the times then is add one more, looking then to have that numerical superiority then within the final third and within that line where they're trying to go 6 versus 5, where then they will be obviously looking to break them down and get that goal. Sometimes you will see that then where it does become a 2-3-5 offensive scheme. You do have the two number 8s there who will be stationed in the half spaces. So at all times then, Mamelodi Sundowns, say for example, one of the attacking players has the ball there. At all times then Mamelodi Sundowns will be trying to ensure that they've got 5 players behind the ball, which then does add to their rest defense, looking then to be tactically organized and ready for adversity. So ready whenever they lose the ball. We do know that they do look to counter press and win the ball as soon as possible. And then with Mamelodi Sundowns then, we also know that they do look to press high. So they will be looking to press this Orlando Pirates side if they do look to start from the back. But that is Orlando Pirates with regards to how they're looking to go about things. A key player then for Orlando Pirates, I would say, is Miguel Tim within the heart of midfield. For Mamelodi Sundowns, a key player then will be Themba Zwane, as he is doing very, very well for Mamelodi Sundowns and for Bafana Bafana as well, where we did see him star in that very, very good performance. So that is what we're looking at then with Mamelodi Sundowns side then. Their weaknesses, I would say, at times, they haven't been organized with regards to their rest defense, as we have seen teams being able then, sitting from deep in this position, in this picture, we have seen them being able to get in behind and get a goal. And also that at times with Mamelodi Sundowns, I would say that at times they have struggled to break down opposition. So I think that is something that they need to work on with regards to how quick then they look to progress the ball, especially when a team will be looking to sit deep against them. So that is Orlando Pirates versus Mamelodi Sundowns in the first leg of the semi-final MTN 8, which will be contested at the Orlando Stadium. So how I do see this one playing out, I do see it as a very, very tight game. So I do think that within this first game, I do foresee Mamelodi Sundowns winning 2-1, very narrow win. And it was said by Jose Riviero that this will be decided within the second leg. So a man who says that, and a man who's coaching a team, after echoing those words, one can only think that Orlando Pirates then will be very conservative. They'll look to sit deep. They'll look to be very, very compact. They'll look to be very organized, where they will try to cancel each other out. But I do foresee Mamelodi Sundowns just edging Orlando Pirates based off qualitative superiority with regards to the players they have. 2-1 in this. And yeah, so that is what I see for the first leg within the semi-final of the MTN 8 at home. Do let me know, what do you make of this extensive pre-match analysis between Orlando Pirates versus Mamelodi Sundowns in the MTN 8 semi-final? So thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. I am wearing a shirt from Classic Shirts ZA. Please do check the site. It is classicshirts.co.za, and also use then the discount code DiskiTalk10 to get yourself your favorite jersey and get yourself a discount. Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.